I don't think I've ever seen a dead season like this in hip hop. But listen, it's getting crazy because there's a lot of people trying to drop right now. It's March. We have Drake singles on the way. We have Benny the Butcher's the Plugs I Met Part 2 coming. We have a Pusha T and Kanye West album that's supposed to be rumored. Migos' Culture 3 is apparently coming.
Travis Scott's Utopia.
Oh my god!
And as much
so
of a dead
coming.
season as it is, I've also never seen so much hype for new music like ever before. So the fans are hungry. And guys, press subscribe if you want to join the community. We're keeping you guys updated on all the latest releases. And I'm just so pumped to talk about these albums because there's so much potential for all of these, man.
Also, guys, let us know in the comments which album you're the most excited for. Maybe not out of these, but just in general, take your pick on it. But I'm super excited, man, for a couple of reasons. One, as I said before, it's been super fucking dead. I mean, the last really big release was Playboi Carti's Whole Lotta Red in December with Kid Cudi's Man in the Mood 3. And then after that, in the months of January and February, shit was pretty dead. I mean, the best music we got was from a movie score. So that kind of indicates something, but there's a lot of hype right now around Drake's Certified Lover Boy. And by the way, guys, we're gonna only cover this so much just because we're releasing so much content on the YouTube for it. We did the reviews and everything that's coming out with the singles.
So what I'm interested in for this album is what direction Drake's gonna go into. Like, based on the title and the fact that he said that it's kind of similar to Views in its sound, I feel like it might be more into the R&B lane, and I don't mind him going into that bag.
Yeah, okay. So what type of songs would you like to hear from him? Like, if you had to name a couple of songs in particular, like a sort of aesthetic that he's going for, or, maybe it's more of his dance hall or more in his R&B sort of vibe. Like, what is he going for?
Yeah, I think maybe a mix of dance hall and R&B stuff. So songs that are similar to maybe something like Faithful or something like, I don't know.
Jungle sort of vibe.
Yeah, Marvin's Room, that sort of vibe. I think he's going to go for some Take Care Views types of vibes.
Okay, I like that. I like that. And since our whole fucking rebuttal on Views and when we did that with Craig, I started to give Views a lot more of a listen, and I'm starting to enjoy it a lot more for sure. And I would be down because anytime Drake goes into an album, it's full of consistency, but it's also full of diversity as well, right? Like, we get all those different sounds. So yes, I would love to see the R&B and like that sort of softer side to it, but I would also like to see Drake on like a Can't Have Everything sort of vibe, or like a Sacrifices sort of vibe. Like, maybe not as hardest hitting flows in his bars, but something that's just like super potent, but super low key to the track.
The last thing I want to cover for CLB is the potential features, and we're seeing that Drake has been recently like collaborating with a lot of kind of more low key artists and younger artists. For example, he just featured on Drake Yo the Ruler's song. He did a feature on Young Blur's song, and he had Lil Durk on Laugh Now Cry Later. So you think he's going to take that approach of kind of tapping in with the newer generation?
Yeah. Because I think it's a way for him to keep his name fresh and relevant throughout the new waves. And, obviously Drake doesn't need to stay relevant, but I mean, it's a good marketing tactic. And not only that, but it's allowing him to put new sounds onto the map. Example, like, look what that one feature did for the drill scene, and look where it really took it off to the mainstream. And like, look what Dirk's doing now, right? And the same thing could be said for this new Drake of the Ruler feature. Like, it's going absolutely crazy, and it kind of gives me a taste of what's to come with Certified Lover Boy. And do you want something like that? Let's say like more on like that Drake of the Ruler feature?
Yeah, definitely. I like that he's tapping with the newer guys, but I want some OG collabs. Like, I want him to tap in with Lil Wayne. I want to see maybe another Hov feature. I want him to have kind of a mix of both.
Okay, so where does Hov fit in that track list then? If like, let's say we're going more of an R&B sort of melodic side.
I don't know, man. I mean, if you look at songs like Legacy by Jay-Z, like, he can go on some softer beats. Obviously, he wouldn't be singing or harmonizing, but like just more of a chilled out verse. I could see him doing that.
Yeah, I know. And listen, it's definitely going to be great. And we're recording this before our reviews, by the way. So
we're recording this before having heard the Scary Hours EP.
So we can't give you guys our full take on that, but we do have our videos up now on it. So let's transition into Migos Culture 3 because it's huge. It's going to be huge. I think fans are hungry for it, and I don't think the hype has died down, because anytime Migos are going to come out and release a full studio album, people are going to stop and listen. That's for sure. And they have commercial success, man. Like, if you remember what they were doing with Culture 2 and the runs they were doing commercially,
they actually doubled their first week sales between Culture and Culture 2. Culture 2 put up like 200K first week, while the first Culture only put up 100K first week.
That's crazy. And those are big boy numbers at that point. Like, they're selling in the 6 digits, and that's what I fuck with about them, is that their commercial bag is super on point. But it's like, if we're gonna get a full album full of 45-minute made songs, like,
Let me ask you this.
I'm not down. You know
what
I'm saying?
happens to the Migos if Culture 3 is up to par with quality with Culture 2? What if it's on the same level of being kind of mediocre at best? What happens to them?
It depends, because I don't know. Is Culture 2 really mediocre, or was it really just them not living up to like the sort of aesthetic they presented on Culture?
They put up over 20 fucking songs, man, on the album.
Yeah,
There's so many misses.
It was diluted. It was super diluted. There was a lot of misses on there.
But yet you go back to an album like Culture, and that influenced the trap scene on another level.
But that's it. I think it was more of a moment thing at that point, and like that's why I'm giving this album a fair shot, because I didn't give Culture 2 a fair shot. You know, I heard Culture, the hype was there. I wasn't as educated as I am now on music, and I went into the album full of expectations. I didn't get them, and then after that, the replay value on the album died. So hopefully that same scenario doesn't go down. But as far as quality goes, they're super talented. I think they're going to deliver, and I'm a big fan of Offset and Takeoff. I'm a really big fan of them, and it really depends on them for me. Like I think Quavo's nowhere near his prime like he was on Culture, like how he was carrying shit. But
and also, if you look at his hook run in 2017,
it was a bit.
It was good. It was crazy, and then it kind of died down.
Towards the end, it started dying down. I feel as if like Honcho Jack was like the point where like he had the taint in the armor type stuff,
100%.
where people were like starting to question his stuff, because before that we had gotten Motorsport, which went absolutely crazy, and then after that in December we had gotten Honcho Jack, and it was great on Travis's part, but the one flaw with the album was that Quavo wasn't able to keep up, and then you know he released his solo work, wasn't really on to par, so it's kind of like where's he at now with it, and I still think he's a super talented dude. Like I still think he's probably the most talented out of all three of them. It's just like, you know, what is he really willing to put into this next album?
Yeah, and I don't know if it really counts for much, but apparently Lil Yachty got kind of a sneak preview of the album, and he said that it brought him to tears.
Yeah, okay, come on.
I mean, but it is Lil Yachty. Like, he's not going to say that it's bad. He's not going to give his honest opinions on it.
I don't know. I don't believe that. I definitely don't believe that.
But look, I've heard some snippets. I'm not a big fan of what I've heard so far. I'll be totally honest about it.
What have you heard?
Just some snippets that Quavo's been, like, previewing on IG Live and stuff. And, like, there's nothing that's, like, I don't know. I haven't heard hits from them in so many years, but I feel like if they really condense it to, like, 13 songs and we get similar bangers like we got on Culture, then maybe there's hope for them to kind of
how do you feel about the whole push of Stir Fry? Like, how did you feel about that now looking back on that and how they really pushed
it was a huge hit. I mean, I didn't like it. I didn't fuck with the song at all.
But like, what separated it from other Migos songs? Because then after that, we're gonna maybe have that same concern on this next one, right? Is that they try to make something super commercial and it just doesn't come out right.
Yeah, I mean, they even had that song. I think it was called like Taco Tuesday or something, and it was just
it was
a weird hook. Like,
but they had Walk It Like I Talk It. That went absolutely crazy. I like that. I think if they were to replicate that, it would go off the charts. Motorsport was also a great lead single.
Narcos was great. I mean,
there was
definitely standouts on Culture too, but it just, as a project as a whole, it wasn't it.
So where do they go from now? Like, what type of aesthetic do they chase? I mean,
there's going to be some drill songs on Culture 3. There's going to be. Yeah.
There's for sure a Pop Smoke feature that's going to get done.
There's going to be a Bobby Shmurda feature. I would put all my money on that.
But man,
and I feel like
I'd rather
that's
get a
going to be
feature.
That's going to be the first single to the album.
Yeah, you think so?
I think that the Bobby Shmurda feature is going to be the first single. I think that it's going to make people super excited for it. And my question is should Bobby Shmurda really come back after all these years on a feature rather than his own song? I don't know.
Or does it get people hyped up for his single because of that feature?
It could,
right? And I liked what I heard on Rax Too Skinny. By the way, I absolutely loved that song, and I think it was really good. What was the song we on NBA Youngboy?
I don't remember what it's called.
Yeah, it was really not. Does anyone remember what that was called? Okay, yeah, remind us of that. Oh, it completely slipped my mind, but yeah. You know, I'm excited to see what happens because there's a lot of open questions with them. And we had discussed this on the little 5-minute video we did on it where, you know, this could be a very, very, very sort of detrimental album to their career if they don't deliver on this.
It's definitely a do or die situation, I think.
So as far as producers go, who would you like to see on it? Because that's another thing is that if they don't get the right fucking producers on this, it's going to be a botch from the start.
Yeah, for sure. You need Metro Boomin on there.
1,000%.
That's without a doubt. You need Murda Beats just because he understands their sound so well.
And he blew up with them, on that level. Like, Murda really took care of that album, for sure.
Yeah. Aside from that, I would put Cardo on there as well.
OG
Parker for sure.
Buddha.
Yeah. Maybe some ATL Jacob too.
There's a lot of ATL producers that could link up with them, and that's what's crazy is because they're so versatile, right? Like all those guys have similar aesthetics but different aesthetics, right? And you see it in the people they work with. Like it's a close circle, but they collaborate with different guys. And Migos, it's like they were always able to go on all kinds of different productions.
Yeah, and speaking of producers, I want to move on to Pusha T because he's supposed to have not only Kanye West but also Pharrell and the Neptunes executive producing every single track on his upcoming album. And we haven't heard from Pusha T since 2018 with Daytona, and that was a masterpiece, man. I'm still bumping that project to date, and
it's gonna be 3 years soon, right? It's gonna be 3 years in May, if I remember.
In May,
correctly.
it's gonna be 3 years. Yeah.
Oh wow, man! Already, I remember the first time I bumped it, and I was going absolutely crazy. But if the 90-day rule thing was true, and he was gonna stay true to it, it should be dropping next week from the time we're recording this. So
yeah, it should. I think March 9th is the deadline for when it was supposed to come out in that 90-day span that he was teasing in December. I don't think it's coming out then. Like it's one of those things where an artist gives us a release date and just doesn't live up to it. Like at this point, I'm not even mad just because it happens so many times that I can't really get pissed about it anymore. You know what I mean? I'm used to it.
I think artists have to take their time on the music, and especially an album that delicate. Like, you got some big names on there. Like, people are gonna have some expectations going into that album, and if there's guys to deliver on it, it's for sure them. Also, what goes down if they just vault this and it never ends up coming out? Like, what happens to the expectations maybe on his solo work? Like, are people even gonna fuck with that? Like,
well, it is his solo work. I just think he has those exec producers behind him, but I'm pretty sure it is a solo album.
Okay, so it's not a collaboration album in the way where...
I don't think so. Okay,
well, we'll see what happens. Okay, well, let's say it's a collaboration album then, because nothing was confirmed on that end. So let's do a bit of speculation here. Let's say it was a collaboration album. Where do you think the sound lies? Like, what do you think goes down?
I mean, you'll definitely catch, Kanye going back to those abstract samples, getting those soul samples for Pusha T to ride on, mixed in with some heavy drums. From the Neptunes, I don't know, man. If we can get some classic Clips beats, that's that sort of vibe on here again, that'd be crazy, just because that sound really kind of was part of birthing that coke rap scene. So I just think it's the perfect combination.
And what that did for the South was absolutely detrimental, right? And and it absolutely exploded everything. And then after that, you saw what happened to Pusha T's career and how it absolutely exploded. But it only really ended up going to a crazy, crazy level after the whole Drake feud, and then after that, everything with Daytona.
And speaking of Daytona, do you think that he can live up to the hype of that?
Absolutely.
There's so much pressure on his shoulders. I think
Pusha T's all worried.
The week that came out, I think it was both Nas and Diddy who said that this is already a classic album. And they helmed it an instant classic
when Daytona released.
Yeah, as soon as it came out.
Yeah, I remember.
And that's one of those projects where it's so rare, but you can hear it. You can hear the quality so fucking instantly. And only 7 tracks, only a couple of features. And that's another thing too, is that even if you remove the features on Daytona,
it's okay.
It's fantastic.
It's still okay.
It's great.
It's still okay. And that's what's great about Pusha T, is that he has the power to carry that album and put no features on it. And he's an incredible lyricist. And every time I go into a Pusha T album, it feels like a movie. Like, it feels like a cinematic experience, And like what I got from Daytona was being in Florida and being in Daytona, like that sort of that 90s vibe with the whole Tony Montana sort of vibe. And, it was just so many different things going in at once, and especially the way that the samples were placed and how beautiful everything blended in together. It felt like whole one experience, and that's what I want out of this album, especially that Kanye and the Neptunes are working on the aesthetic. Let's say, well, we don't know how much, but let's say they have a majority say in the whole aesthetic of the album.
Supposed to have the whole say.
Imagine what goes down, right? And imagine what could go down there.
Definitely
it's
an
legendary
album,
shit.
definitely an album of the year contender, without a doubt.
So do you think that would be a top 3 album of the year contender?
100%. The question is it going to come out? Because he was working on the album with Madlib. He was working on some Tyler the Creator beats. So is this going to be shelved like you were saying earlier? I don't know, man. I hope not.
Yeah,
this sounds amazing.
I hope we don't get our hopes up.
Yeah.
I hope we don't get our hopes up. But anyways, man, let's go on.
Speaking of the coke rap scene, let's move on to Benny the Butcher, man, who's dropping, I think, a week from now, from when this is going to be out.
Yeah, a week from now. And I couldn't believe when this was announced, just because, Burden of Proof came so soon. And, we know Benny took a bit of a break and, really took time to craft some music, and came out with Burden of Proof, and it was absolutely ridiculous.
Album of the year 2020.
Definitely. now the Plugs I Met Part 2 is coming out, and it's with Harry Fraud, and I am a big fan of Harry and his production, and I love when he goes on like those sort of, those sort of vibes with working with one rapper, example, like, talk about what he did with Currency and stuff. So
On the Outrunners, fantastic
material that dropped in 2020. What's the vibe for the album? Because now it's with one producer.
Yeah, and I think that, he saw what worked with Hit Boy to have that really good chemistry with just one producer and really be able to hone in on one sound. So I feel like with Harry Fraud, it's going to be the same thing. But the thing about Harry Fraud's beats is that they're very patient. They have a lot of build up. It's kind of more relaxed. So we might not get, as aggressive of a Benny that we might have gotten on the first The Plugs I Met. That's what I'm thinking, is that it's going to be maybe a more introspective Benny. Those are my thoughts on that.
I would say yes, but it depends what Harry Fraud throws at him. Plus,
True.
Because the Plugs I Met, it was also subtle in its production, if I have to say. Like, it wasn't like Tana Talk 3 sort of dark.
It wasn't. You didn't have like those crazy Derringer beats on there. You know what I mean?
you didn't have any of that.
It wasn't that dark.
I would say, like, if we could keep up that aesthetic with Harry Fraud, I mean, it could go absolutely crazy. And we all know how good he is at keeping a consistent beat. And, if I had to choose any producer I'd want to see go with Benny the Butcher, Harry Fraud would definitely be in that mix. And I want to ask you, if you had to choose a couple of features that you'd like to see on the album, what would you go
speaking
with?
of that, apparently the feature list has leaked.
Actually.
Apparently. It's a rumor, and this is the feature list. I'll read it out to you just because it's kind of surprising, to be honest.
What do you mean by surprising?
It kind of took me off guard. When I read the feature list, like I said...
No Trippy Red feature, right?
No, there's no Trippy feature on that, man.
No Trippy Red feature.
But this is what I got. I got French Montana.
Oh, nah.
That's how we're starting off. No. French Montana, 2 Chainz, Fat Joe, and Rick Hyde, who's from the Black Soprano family. The Rick Hyde feature makes sense.
Rick Hyde fan.
2 Chainz, I'm chill with that. They were spotted together. Fat Joe... Okay,
that's fire.
I'm cool with it, but French Montana?
Nah.
It just, I don't know.
Man,
because if you look back at the first The Plugs I Met, you had the likes of fucking Black Thought and Pusha T. So like, this is kind of coming out of left field. It's just a rumor. I don't know if it's gonna happen, but if French Montana is really on this project, I'm gonna have to start asking myself some questions, man.
There's only so many questions we can ask because at the end of the day, it is in his hands, right, Ted? But my thing is, like, where does that even make sense?
I don't know.
Like, French Montana is nowhere near on that level of lyricism, like, at all. Like, or even on that sort of, like, aesthetic sort of vibe. Like, French Montana makes, like, club bangers.
I know.
And, like, strictly club bangers. And, like, doesn't make great projects, like, whatsoever. Like, really not great projects. And, I mean... Yes, you gotta give your credit to French Montana where it's due. He's a mega hit banger and a hit maker. Sorry, and he could do whatever he really wants. But I mean, Griselda with French Montana.
It's a bit of a weird link up, but they're kind of like spreading their wings everywhere. Like Griselda's been linking up with Travis Scott. They've been linking up with like so many different artists. But French Montana is a weird choice though for me.
I'd rather get the Drake feature.
I want to see that happen. I want to see that go down.
Give me the Drake feature. Give me that West Side Gun and Travis Scott feature. Do something there. But I mean, hey, listen, it's all in fun and games, right? Like whatever he releases, I'm super down to listen to because it's gonna be quality nonetheless. And who knows, you might get something fucking surprising from French Montana. Like imagine French Montana makes the craziest banger of his life with Benny the Butcher and it goes number 1 and like everyone starts bumping.
Like if it happens and like the track list comes out and I see French Montana's name, it's got to be for a reason. Like the song's gonna be good. I don't care. It's a Benny the Butcher song. I can't remember the last time he's missed on anything. So
imagine Benny the Butcher goes on like this super melodic vibe. Imagine he starts getting into like
his R&B bag.
Listen, that could be a very
scary hours.
Yeah, imagine that whole persona going into R&B. I don't know how the transition would be, but I mean, listen, I'm down for it, right? Artists could do whatever the fuck they want nowadays, and we can't really say anything besides talk about it. And I mean, as long as it's not completely out of left field, because French Montana does have a lot of credit in New York, and he has done a lot for the scene. So I mean,
the cover art is hard though. It's kind of
it's stupid nice.
You have that classic handshake, and it's kind of playing off of the first cover from the Plugs I Met. So
who knows?
It's gonna be great.
Who knows what
I
type
think
of
it's gonna be a
damage it
great
could do.
project.
I think it will too. And I mean, if I had to choose one more feature that I'd like to see on it, I would want to see another Conway and West Side Gun collaboration together.
The whole Griselda squad.
The whole Griselda squad coming in for one more song, like on like some Warpaint sort of vibes. Warpaint is super underrated, by the way. Not a lot of people are talking about it, but hey, fuck it. We got what we got. Let's move on to Travis Scott's Utopia, because we were talking about him earlier and how he was collaborating with Griselda, but we are putting out a lot of content on him, and we were talking about some stuff. And one thing we did see on TikTok, because of the features, were those chains made by Eliante. He has 11 of them in particular, and they have been seen on the likes of Young Thug and Roddy Ricch. I'm super down to see those two on the album, and now where did the other 9 go? We don't know.
Yeah.
But take your pick, man. Give me 2 other guys that you would want to see on there, like we talked about in the last video.
But
refresh
guys.
me with it, yeah. Now that you've had some time to sleep on it.
I would definitely say that Don Toliver is going to be back on it. There's no denying that he's going to be
Putting
back
money
on
Don
there.
Toliver?
Don Toliver, I think The Weeknd, for sure. I don't think, I mean, I'm pretty sure, yeah, The Weeknd's been on every single Travis project, so he's definitely going to be back on this, I think. There's no debating that. In terms of new artists, who do you think is going to come on? Like someone that he maybe hasn't worked with yet.
Imagine West Side Gun. Imagine a West Side Gun feature.
Could happen.
That's true. We've seen them in the studio working together. And Travis Scott looks super happy about it too.
What's crazy is that he said that he's going to come back with a new sound. So like, what do you think that new sound's going to be? Do you think that he's going to come back with like some futuristic vibes and like some really cinematic production like we saw in Franchise? Is that the vibe he's going to go for? What do you think?
As long as there's no MIA on it, I'm chill. But I can't even say, because it's so different every time, right? Like I didn't expect Astroworld to listen to that the first, like to hear, like the first time I listened to Astroworld, I was speechless. Like I didn't even understand what I was listening to. You know, like it's that sort of emotion whenever you go into a new Travis Scott album. And I want to capture that same moment. It's kind of like, even if I were to make expectations for myself for the whole project, they're probably going to end up getting shot down, and like it's going to be completely something that I haven't seen. You know, as far as collaborators, I hope he's working on Mike Dean as usual. I mean, like, you know, that's always awesome collaborator.
He's going to be making his own beats as well. That's what he said.
I'm super down for that, and it's been a while since he's done that, so who the fuck knows, right?
And he's also apparently been inspired to make this album by his daughter Stormy, which is interesting. I mean,
it could be something really cool where it's a personal album to him as well.
Could be.
It's him on a whole different level. We spoke about the whole thing diving into the mogul bag. Do you think that would fit Travis's persona right now? Is like that sort of mogul vibe?
Definitely, just because, you know, Astroworld was kind of, you know, paying homage to his hometown, and Utopia, I think, is going to be where he's at now, his current mindset. I think that, you know, he's going to talk about how he's exploded into the genre, how he's becoming one of the most sought out artists in the whole music industry. So I definitely think he can hop into that mogul vibe if he wants to.
And I would like to see it. I just think it would be on a different level. Like I would like to see him talk about, you know, I'd like to see him flex those fucking sponsorships. Like that would be crazy. You know, just one big victory lap on a whole different level, right? Like, you know, he released Rodeo when like he was really blowing up, and I feel as if that was the when he realized he had like the in to the industry. Like he was like on that mainstream level. And then, you know, Birds was sort of like the glue to what Astroworld was, which was, you know, going back to his roots and showing everything that he started from, and like,
and a big mixture of sounds, him
absolutely.
kind of
everything that he's been inspired by,
exactly.
right, until his music career, and he put that into one album. And it's kind of like where he's at now is a really polished and refined version of himself, where he's released a fuckload of material, everything's been a hit. So it's kind of like, why is he not going to trust that process the same way? Why isn't he going to treat it as, you know, a unique process where he's getting into his creative bag and where he's introducing these new sounds and these new elements in
and
it?
Yeah, speaking of those new sounds, I think that, you know, he actually has admitted to being a big film buff and being inspired by movies. And, you know, he recently collabed with Christopher Nolan on the score to Tenet, where he did the song The Plan. And I think that, you know, that beat is going to really inspire the sound of Utopia. I think he's going to go for the cinematic kind of futuristic type of sound and aesthetic.
So like, you know, his MBDTF sort of.
Maybe.
You think Travis is gearing up to drop his MBDTF, like the biggest, grandest thing he's ever dropped?
Kanye went off to Hawaii. Travis went off to Mexico, man. Get inspired by a new place.
Whoa. So Travis could be dropping the craziest album that he's ever seen. And man, if there's one guy who could fucking do it, it's him. It's
It is.
true.
Yeah.
The guy's never fucking missed.
He hasn't.
Wow,
Man.
gentlemen, we're about to eat. Shit. You know, that could get crazy because what happens if he does do that? His fucking discography is gonna be insane.
It's already amazing as it is.
Like,
you know what I mean?
You're gonna have Rodeo, Birds, Astroworld, and then Utopia, which is on that same level. Like, that's a ridiculous spread.
It really is, man. I hope that we get it before the summertime. I think that
we're gonna get it before summer?
I think April is a big possibility. The end of April.
You think so?
I think so, man.
I would love to hear some summer bangers and get that going. Maybe if he doesn't drop in April, I think he holds it off till like August, like he did before.
I think the only reason that he might not drop in April is if Drake drops in April. I think that might kind of make him be like, hey, let me chill off for a bit.
Okay, wait. So what happens if we get a Drake and Travis Scott
It's possible.
album in the same month?
Very possible.
Whoa. Okay, which one? Now, just hypothetically speaking, you know, just for the sport, let's put it that way.
Which one do I think is gonna be better?
Yeah,
Shit, man.
just for the sport. Pretend we're like on ESPN right now.
I would. I'm gonna put my money on Utopia.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put my money on Utopia. What
Yeah.
about you?
I gotta hear these two singles. I gotta hear
You
these
gotta
two
hear
singles.
that's Scary Hours EP.
I gotta see what
feel
he's
you.
coming with. If he's coming with absolute heat, it could be super scary for Drizzy, and it's a new appreciation for Drake. When he dropped Scorpion, a lot of people were looking at him like, bro, like you're nothing. Like people were
Which
actually,
is bullshit, man. I mean,
a
look,
lot of
it's
people-
not his best work, but like,
a lot of people were looking down upon it because it was the first time he ever got wrecked. Like people were gassed up by the whole Meek Mill thing. Everyone was calling him like this crazy battle rapper. Pusha T came out, you know, did what he did, and it ended up fucking. It tainted the whole rollout of Scorpion.
Drake had another diss song in the vault, though. That's for sure.
He definitely did, but like, well, he was in the middle of a fucking album rollout. The guy was rolling out his
Yeah,
album.
it was
and
horrible timing for him. He was gonna do the whole
Whoa.
Adidas deal.
it was-
Horrible timing.
Not only that, but like it was gonna be such a huge studio album for him, and I would have loved to hear what that original version sounded like. Imagine, I think it would. I don't think it would have been a side B and side A. I think it would have been one
Well,
whole
look,
mixed tracks
you
list.
wouldn't have gotten songs like 8 out of 10. You wouldn't have gotten March 14th. Like, it would have been a totally different track list.
What do you think
100%.
would have happened at that point?
I don't know. I still think he would have gone with the whole double album vibe. I think that was something that he had planned out from the beginning, but just maybe a different approach.
Different approach to it.
Yeah.
But anyways,
so,
let's get back to Utopia.
Yeah. So, look, I think that he's going to go for that futuristic sound, and I think that he's going to prove that he's one of the most innovative artists of our time just because, you know, every album is a different saga of Travis Scott. It's a different, you know, place and in time for him. And I just think that there's no one kind of pushing the boundaries the way he is, not only in trap, but in hip-hop in general.
He's taking experimental hip-hop to a whole different level now. And, you know, where experimental hip-hop started to where it's at now was absolutely incredible. Like, you know, the big push came from the underground as well. And, you know, the mainstream acts within that. So, like, let's say we put Tribe or we put, Kanye, Lauryn Hill, Outkast. We got Kid Cudi in there. Now we have Travis Scott. Like, he's really carrying that torch. And he's putting it on to a different level where he's bringing it to a whole different mainstream level. And, you know, we often talk about Travis Scott's marketing and the way that he's able to tap into these fan bases. You know, look at what he's doing for the generations younger than us. You know, it's like they're coming up bumping Travis Scott on that level. You know, we were able to witness the blow up and still get this effect, but I mean, like, anyone who's coming up through hip-hop now is an absolute mega fan of Travis Scott, and it's for no debate.
I just hope that these younger fans actually take the time to go back and like listen to Days Before Rodeo and just actually appreciate his mixtapes as well. Just because
He had crazy mixtape runs.
he did Alfaro, Days Before Rodeo. Not only that, but also like I feel like there's a lot of fans of Travis that have just heard Astroworld and just heard like his recent singles. So like you really have to like give him the respect he deserves and listen to his whole catalog just because it's fantastic.
That's
all throughout. Last album that I want to talk about briefly, just because it might not totally be a hip hop album, but we do have Anderson .Paak in it, and he's collabing with Bruno Mars for a totally unexpected link up. I mean, Anderson .Paak actually, you know, opened for Bruno Mars on his 2016 tour for 24 Karat Magic, but I never would have thought that, you know, these two artists would actually link up for a whole album. So when you heard the news, what were your thoughts on it?
I was super hyped for Anderson because Bruno Mars is a mega artist and, you know, pop on a different level.
He's one of the best-selling artists of all time.
Absolutely. And I love what he's done with his catalog. I think he has a super calculated discography. And I mean, obviously people know him for his mainstream hits and everything else that comes with it, but it's fucking hype. I'm down, man. You got two guys that are super good on melodies, that are super selective about their productions, fantastic artists, and go. These two guys could literally go into any genre they want and dominate.
I know.
And that's what's really fucking with me, is because where are they going? Are they going to go in a softer, more R&B vibe, or are they going to go into something more, dancehall, something more gets you into the groove?
I think it's going to be all soul and funk, man. That's what I think it's going to be.
I think so too. And Bruno Mars in his last project really incorporated that.
He did.
And, that's what I want to see again from both of them. And, it really lies into the production. What are they going to do with the production? Because I never doubt Anderson .Paak, because I hope he produces the whole thing himself, just because I know how talented of a producer he is. And I hope it doesn't get too pop. Like, that's the only part where I'm going to get like frustrated with myself.
Yeah, just because Bruno Mars is obviously a huge pop star. And like, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of modern pop, but like, he's one artist where, I'll hear a song of his on the radio. I won't turn it off. I'll listen to it. Like, I really fuck with his music. He only has 3 albums out. They're all great. But what's interesting is, like, with the album cover that we got, it said like an event with Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars. So it kind of gives you that feeling of something big that's to come. And I just think that it's going to be a totally different aesthetic. It's going to be super soulful. I think it's going to be reminiscent of, old 70s soul and funk. And I'm super excited. And honestly, I'm happy that Bruno Mars sees the talent in a smaller artist like Anderson .Paak. Like, yes, Anderson .Paak has won Grammys, but if you look at their fan bases, the sizes are really, very, very different.
Very different. And incredible to see what Bruno Mars is doing on that level, just because Bruno Mars could put out a solo album and probably even sell more. Who knows what Bruno Mars could do with that. But
and
like
the
fact that it's coming out with Anderson .Paak is so cool, because it's kind of like you're taking two fan bases that would be interested in the same type of aesthetic and you're putting them together on that level, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, and what's cool too is that like Bruno Mars has, featured on hip hop songs before. If you look at something like Lighters, for example, off of Bad Meets Evil. So maybe we'll get some hip hop songs from Anderson .Paak and some hooks on there from Bruno Mars. I don't know.
Who are like collaborators, like hip hop artists, that you think would be able to go really good on this?
Ooh, that's tough.
Like an Anderson .Paak sort of like Bruno Mars vibe.
I would say Frank Ocean.
Schoolboy Q.
Yeah.
I'm talking hip hop artists.
Just hip hop artists?
Just hip hop artists. Because we could name a bunch. Like I could give like Brent Faiyaz, like maybe Bryson Tiller. Like there's a bunch of guys that could go with them. But
Schoolboy Q, you could, yeah.
I could see Schoolboy Q going.
He's worked with Paak before. Besides that, who else could we see? Maybe Isaiah Rashad. I could see that.
You think Bruno Mars would collaborate with Isaiah Rashad?
I would see it happening, yeah.
Oh, that'd be huge for Isaiah Rashad.
Could be
That's
nice.
just a hypothetical thing, but like imagine that would go down. Imagine Isaiah Rashad would get a Bruno Mars cosign.
That'd be insane. But I don't even think that they need features, to be honest.
No, I don't think they would need features. As far as any other collaborators, like let's say on some higher level shit, because like we know Anderson .Paak likes to collaborate with the likes of like Smokey Robinson and like Andre 3K, like absolute legends. Do you think that sort of vibe is gonna be sort of put back into this one?
It's possible. I mean, apparently the album's being hosted by Boosty Collins, who's like this legend from the 70s funk. But I'm not too sure like who else would be a part of it. Maybe Lionel Richie. Who knows if who knows if he'll come on and
Lionel Richie
and bring us some nice fucking jams. I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's definitely gonna be a vibe of an album and something that you're gonna be able to bump in the car in the summer.
As of the time that this is out, the song's already been out. The first single from the album. We haven't heard it yet, obviously, because we're recording in advance.
So yeah, let us know what you think about it. It's going to be absolutely crazy. What else? Like, there's so much that would go into that album as well, as far as content matter. Do you think it would be maybe more personal on their side, or do you think it would be really romantic based and something of that sort?
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be more, luxury talk, more like relationship type of tracks. And honestly, it's going to be all about the fucking vibe at the end of the day.
Yeah, the silky smooth sort of flow melodies that's going on. And where do you think both of them perform? Like, what kind of chemistry do you think they have? Like, who would like predominantly take the hooks, or like who would prominently take the verses? Like, what goes on that side? Like, who would you rather have on a hook? Anderson .Paak or Bruno Mars?
Damn, that's so tough.
Yeah,
man.
because now they're playing on the same level, right?
Yeah.
Who do you put there?
I don't know. I don't know, man. I really don't know. Just because they're both equally talented in that fucking
I'm
category.
Going Anderson. I'm still going Anderson. I'd rather hear Anderson. I think Anderson's the best feature man in the game right now.
He is,
especially for his hooks.
For hip hop, 100%.
Especially for his hooks.
Yeah.
Like what he's doing on that level is like really being untouched right now. And you want to get him on a verse, it's going to be absolutely crazy. And out of all these drops that are coming, I think that there's one thing that we could take out of it is that finally the industry is going to start dropping again. It's been a fucking dreadful drought. We've had such a hard time coming up with content that sometimes just because, we wouldn't be able to find anything that's going on in it. And, we want to connect to more of you guys throughout these reviews and, throughout these sort of industry updates because, this is what we talk about. Like even after the podcast episode, what the fuck's going on and, how could we consume the music in, a more efficient and better way, that's going to better us as people. Thank you so much guys for watching the episode. Listen, we got a lot of stuff going on here at NFR. You guys could join our community by joining our Discord chat. It's absolutely popping. The link is going to be in the bio, guys. And listen, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and the notification tabs. We're doing daily content here at NFR Podcast. Thank you guys for sticking in, and I'll see you on the next one.